Hello, and welcome back to From the Source podcast, Season 2, Episode 7. And today we're going to be talking more running, obviously, again, because it's the only thing on my mind at the minute, but we'll be talking about that running plateau that people may or may not have experienced yet, but if you're currently in a running plan, or even just out running, you'll probably experience it one day. So we're just going to talk about the plateau that we kind of all get. I seem to get it more often than I think I should, but I think that's more down to the routes that I run rather than the actual training plan itself. So today's going to be talking about like what is a running plateau, ways to kind of shake up your routine, training a bit smarter, strength training, and how that'll be a massive upgrade to your running, which will hopefully stop you from plateauing, and resting, which is probably to do with around like burnout and overtraining. So for anyone who's listening so far, if you're listening on, say, YouTube now, please comment what you think a running plateau is and how you overcome it and kind of how you address it when you're doing your training plans as well. So kind of the running plateau will happen probably, well, it's mainly down to like a lack of variety in your training. So if that's kind of doing the same runs each week, doing the same runs on each day of every week, the same routes that you're doing, kind of over time, the plateau will probably happen due to like boredom, really. So a boredom of any of those things that I've mentioned. So it's about changing where you train or who you train with or what days you train on. I know in previous episodes I've talked about, having those set days. So every Monday is a speed session, etc., which I think that doesn't contribute to the plateau. But if you're doing the same speed work, it's always 400s. It's stuff like that'll increase the chances of plateauing. Overtraining is a big one that contributes to the plateau. So you want to, obviously, you feel like you want to train more to get better and you feel like that's the way, but that overtraining, yes, it will make you feel better or think you're getting quicker in the short term, but that's actually in the long term contributing to that burnout. So, if you're running like 7 days a week, it'll be like, oh, another day. And I think it's the classic quality over quantity that, yes, you're running every day, that's great. Obviously you're being active and things like that. But at the same time, are those runs each time you're going out actually making you any better? Like if you did a speed session the day before and you've trained to go out the next day and do a speed session, are those times going to be the same or are they going to be better? More than likely they'll be the same, if not a bit slower, but the actual effect that's having on your body is, less recovery. Speed sessions are quite intense. So all of those things contribute to the plateau, which is self-inflicted in a way. So if you had that break, a day off, or even the day after a speed session, just went out for like a slow run, not bothered about time, all that will reduce the risk of plateauing, but also increase your training and your ability through each session. So yeah, some common signs really, like same pace. Common signs of knowing that you're in a plateau is like the same pace every single week. You're not really getting any quicker, not really getting any slower. You're just out running, but in your head you feel like you're putting in more effort and you're going quicker. But when you're checking your watch, it's always the same pace. Fatiguing a lot. So that could be you fatigue. You'd like when you're doing a long session, you're dropping off more near the end a lot more often, or every time you're going out to run, you're really sore. So it takes you like a few Ks to get going. And that's a common one for me, to be fair. I just think, oh, it'll be all right. I'll just keep running through it. And it does wear off. And you do get into the session and it does feel fine. But then when I stop at the end of the run, my body hurts like twice as much as it should do, or, more than it should do right at that minute as soon as I stop. So that's a common one for me. And the loss of motivation to go out and run. And that is also common for me, but the loss of motivation comes from like running the same routes. And, anyone listening to this who lives in and around where I live, it's quite flat. So you either turn left or you turn right, and it's pretty much the same. You have to run at least 5, 6, maybe 7K out in either direction before you can possibly get to something new. So in order for me to do that, it has to be on like long runs. So those are the times where I kind of explore my local area and try and reach new places. And when you're on your running plan and it's like a 30K, and last week it was a 20K, I'm like, great, potentially there's 5K extra of things that I can see today. But for the speed sessions, obviously I try and do it around a track or on the same spot, but even that contributes to like a motivation drop off because it's the same thing round a track. So if you're in any of those types of categories, you're listening to this, you may or may not be in a plateau right now. So you need to try and find out for yourself, which is just a personal thing where, how do I get out of this now? What's the best way for me to get out the plateau and increase again, and try not to just get comfortable in that plateau. People get to a certain speed and they're like, oh, this is great, I'm just happy with this. But over time, you'll slowly like decrease in like speed and stuff, or strength. So try your best to get out of the plateau, like push past. If that's like motivation from like other people to come along and stuff like that really needs it. So shaking up your routine basically. So introduce, maybe another speed session in a week and trade out something else, or do your speed sessions differently. Do like on-offs, and that's, for example, you could do 500 meters on, 500 meters off, but the off is like, a slow walk or a slow run. You're not completely stopping. Try and like mix it up, try and surprise your body, and it doesn't really know what it's going to do. You tell yourself you're going to go out and do 8 1Ks. Actually, you go out and do 16 500s. It's that little bit that changes it up. It gives you a little bit of a spark. It might even come down to just buying like a new running hat or some new headphones or a new, I don't know, a running belt or something. That just gives you motivation, switches it up. Changing like the terrain and stuff that you run on. So if you've never done a track before and you want to do speed sessions, get on the track, change it up. It's just a new environment. Maybe do your long runs but go trail running instead, or drive somewhere. Even if, like I said before, let's like drive 5 miles in another direction and then do your half marathon somewhere else. You just really need to find out what works for you, and those things that you're changing up. Once you change them, you'll then start to plateau with them later down the line, and then you change it up and you might go back to what you originally had and stuff. So I wouldn't really change your terrain and go on like a treadmill. That's a proper mood killer, for me anyway. Staring at a wall of myself in a mirror and running in the same spot is, well, that's my worst nightmare, really. I'd lose motivation. I couldn't train like that. So make tiny tweaks and see which one works for you, really. And goes quite nicely into training smarter and not just training more. So people, like I said, people think to get faster, you need to train like 5, 6, 7 times a day, like hard all the time. You could probably do that for about 2 weeks, and then you're hitting a brick wall and your body's probably breaking down. You've got pains in your shins and your ankles and stuff like that. So it's quality over quantity in any of the workouts, and listening to your body in those sessions. And it's okay to have a rest day. It's okay to have 2 or 3 rest days all in one go. Let that body properly recover and go back at it and hit it hard. I think sometimes people are, maybe scared in a way during that running plan to actually acknowledge, I think, and listen to your body and be like, no, I'm having a rest day today, because all it takes is, your mates to message you and say, oh, do you want to go out for a run? And that was meant to be a rest day. And you're like, yeah, go on then. And you run and it's fine. You're chatting to your mates, you don't even realise. But the day after, you're just like, really wish I'd had that rest day, because now it's a interval session and now I'm in pain and I know I'm not going to do it. And, it increases your chance of injury. It affects you, like your sleep. Increases your stress. It could do anything to you. So train smarter. Deload weeks. If people are new to this, deload weeks are like recovery weeks. So usually a running plan works on like a 16-week running plan will work on like a 4-week rota. So 3 weeks of hard training, a mixture of like long runs, short runs, intervals, etc. And then your 4th week is like a deload week. So the plan that I'm on now, I'm doing the distance I'm covering in the deload week is only like 5 or 6K less than my active weeks, but the intensity is completely different. The speeds that I have to run the intervals at are less. The distance of my long runs are slightly less, but in distance, but God, sorry, wow. Or the speed that I have to run the long runs are just slower. It just gives you a chance. You're still getting the distance in, but it just gives you a chance to recover a bit more. So yeah, you probably get more rest in those recovery weeks. It's just not as intense. And then so if you looked at it on the graph, obviously you're progressing 1, 2, and 3 weeks. 4th week you drop off, but then 5, 6, 7 you increase further past the first weeks. That's kind of how the running plan works. And then you get to the end of the running plan and you're peaking, and that's usually when you like your rest days or your test week and stuff. So it's quality over quantity. That's literally what I'd say. You could train twice a week as a runner and be better at running or quicker or whatever than someone who trains 5, 6 times a week. That's purely for, what is your aim of that run? Is it just so you want to get out of the house? Then I'd probably just recommend going for a walk if it's meant to be a rest day. Don't just go out and blast one. And especially, I'm going to speak about strength training. If you're going to do the strength training as well, it's a lot of load to, put through your body. And most of us are working 9 to 5 jobs. So you've also got to fit that in. You've got a family life. You've obviously got to spend time with people, eat and everything. So there's a lot going on, and training all the time isn't the best. So the strength training. So we're not going to talk about like strength plans and stuff, but there's a myth that if you lift weights, you'll end up getting slower. And I think if you, trying to deadlift 200 kilos and trying to build up a strength plan to that extent and trying to run, one of them's going to fall down. And usually is the runs, because that's easier to give up, because, that's harder. But if you're training strength specifically, then all of that is going to benefit your running. So I'd say more so it's single leg or single, sided stuff. I was trying to think of a better word than unilateral, is it? So strengthen each leg, and collectively that strengthens both legs when you're running, because everyone's got like one leg weaker than the other, one side, stronger than the other. So implement a very simple strength plan into your training. That'll also help with like injury prevention. It's more of like a prehab as a strength, because you're running, knees and hips are getting absolutely hammered, and those joints need to strengthen up to take more load, basically. So you've got like deadlifts, you've got single leg squats. It's like, I was going to say single leg lunges, but they are all single legs, and like some core work. So that's around like your hip flexor area and stuff. That's not like, let's just train and diet to get abs. That's just train and keep that trunk strong. Because when you're running and you're tired, everyone starts to slouch, you start to lean forward, then your running form goes, then you start getting pain in your glutes, your lower back and stuff. So keeping that core strong, keeping upright, keeping a good posture when you're running is only going to benefit you. And you don't have to do many strength exercises, strength workouts, sorry, maybe only like 2 a week if your aim is to be good at running. It's not a lot, but once again, it's quality over quantity. So 45 minutes to an hour, pretty much, no more than that. There's no like old bodybuilding type days where it was like spending 3 hours in the gym was the best thing to do, and practically moving in. So twice a week, really simple strength workout. You could literally just get any of these, just a simple one off Google, and just implement that into your routine. And if you wanted on top of that, obviously recovery, if your gym's got like an ice bath and stuff like that, that's great. Add that into it. That'll help your recovery. And knowing when to rest, which I think I've spoke about, briefly throughout this episode, is like your rest and recovery days. So the overtraining, if you're not resting, will contribute to the plateau. And not resting won't help, like your sleep and your stress, life in general, all that load that you've put on your body. So resting, stretching, walking, ice baths, like I said, Theraguns and stuff. As much as it'll probably pain you on that day to do that, it's the best thing to do. Your body will tell you when to rest, and I'd encourage everyone not to ignore that and just enjoy putting your feet up, because next week when the running plan kicks in and it's a tough week, you'll be sat there thinking, why don't I just sit on my arse for a bit? Why did I not just like rest and enjoy that downtime? Rest is probably one of the most important things during this running plan, which is weird considering you want to get better at running, but you just have to get better at resting, and you have to get better at your nutrition and eating, getting in the right foods, right amount of proteins and stuff that are going to help you recover, because those are the proteins are the key ones to recovery and helping those muscles grow, and the carbs and stuff that you have are the ones that fuel you for those runs. So listen to your body and take time off if you need. And I guarantee those rests will be the things the next week that'll push you on, because you'll be fighting fit, ready to go for the next time. So anyone who's listened so far, or got this far, please encourage you to add those little tweaks into your running plan. That'll help you in the long term. You might not see it at the time, but I think adding those little speed sessions in, which will hurt at the start, but it'll definitely stop the plateau. You will literally break through that barrier you've had. Just a short 30, 40 minute top speed session will push you past that next barrier, and that plateau will then be broken, and you'll carry on upwards till you hit the next one. So please just add those little tweaks in. anyone who wants to like share any parts any parts of like a plateau they've experienced, I'd like to know, like, how you managed to get through it and what it was like and stuff. So please share that on either the YouTube or just comment on any of the socials. And I know I bang on about it, but the running apps, so Strava's obviously the big one. If you're tracking your runs on there, you'll actually be able to see any plateaus when you look back at the progress and stuff, because it'll show the graph. And it'll be surprising how much your brain or your body, you forget about what you thought was a plateau. And then when you start seeing it on a graph, you'll actually realise that I thought I actually was running further or harder the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it's actually been the same, if not a little bit less. So track your runs and see if any patterns are there. That's probably the best way to go about it, without, rocking up at a university and asking a bunch of lab scientists to look at you. So, give Strava a go, or any other running apps that are out there, but Strava's the main one that I use. And if you've definitely listened this far and you're watching the socials, you'll see that when this episode comes out tomorrow on the 16th, 16th to the 22nd, there's a £50 free gift card giveaway for St. Virgo. So the hat that I'm wearing, I've got like some running vests and stuff from St. Virgo as well, but they're giving away a free £50 gift card for anyone who joins the podcast run club and logs runs onto the leaderboard. The person who's top of the leaderboard at the end of the 22nd, so it'll go up to like midnight. So on the 23rd, the winner will be announced. So top of the leaderboard, furthest distance ran between the 16th and the 22nd of June. So it's just running. I've had a few questions about this, but it's just for the runners. Don't go out on your bike and track it, because I will look. If someone's covered like 300 kilometers in a week, I'll have a look. And if you set your watch to run but got on a bike, I'll be looking at the splits. So so anyone, please join the run club. £50 giveaway. We'll probably be doing something similar to this more down the line. Get everyone together for like a run club as well, and have a word with Craig and see if he wants to chuck in some free ads or something. But please like, share the videos on YouTube. Please listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to this, probably are listening to on one of them. Please share with your friends, let everyone know about it, and I'll see you on the next one.